What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you. It is a Tuesday night, 9:30. Thank you so much for being here. We are coming at you live, as always, on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube page. Thank you a ton for being here. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from this evening, and we are going to get to it. Melissa, hope you're doing well. Golfing Ferdy, hope you're doing well as well. Travel, good to see you, my friend. Billy Joe Smo, hope you're doing well. Not sure what you mean. It says normal November temperature, 64 to 72 degrees per average. And every station has their own average from 77 to 82. If you could elaborate on that, I will try to talk about that further. I don't know what you mean by that because the average is the average. That's the climate average. So everything should be the same because that is an official site. The only thing that I can think of right off the bat is that they're using different climate sites. We have 5 of them in Central Florida. So somebody might be using Daytona Beach. Somebody might be using Orlando. Somebody might be using Sumter County in that climate site. So there's a lot of different things going on. So I'm not sure what you're talking about exactly, but I can try to help you out if you post, elaborate further. All right. So what we're going to be talking about on the show this evening is that warm up that continues not only through the work week, but likely through Thanksgiving before another round of colder air arrives for the start of December. So feeling festive maybe if you've held out and have yet to decorate for Christmas. I know a lot of people have already. I'd like to know if you've done that. Post in the comments if you've already decorated or if you are waiting for Thanksgiving to be here. I am a Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving decorator myself. Then we're going to look at the long range. There's not much long range left to go, but I talked about this yesterday that we would share the latest and likely the last Climate Prediction Center hurricane season outlook, at least that I am going to share because hurricane season officially ends on November 30th. So we are going to say goodbye to that, but I told you I would show you what they have to say about the remaining 12 days coming up on the other side of the first break in about 7 minutes. First and foremost, it is quiet. Melissa said that she is enjoying the comfortable weather. There we go. We talked about this last night, kind of a double barrel area of high pressure, one off the Atlantic coast, one off the Gulf Coast. It is keeping us oh so nice and oh so comfortable. And there's really no major changes over the next 10 days, aside for it maybe us adding a degree or two to the temperature from this point through Thanksgiving, out ahead of our next big cold front that is poised to slide down here, likely through the first couple of days of December. There comes the average temperature again, as we were talking about, relative to normal. So depending upon where you are, we're going to be talking about air temperatures being about 5-ish degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. Averages are in the upper 70s in Central Florida. We're at 83. That's the forecast for Orlando, 84 in Tampa, Miami. We are at 82 degrees. We are at 77 in Pensacola. Yvette, good to see you, my friend. Jacksonville, we are at 82 tomorrow afternoon. That's going to be Wednesday, November 19th. Taking it out an extra day. We are keeping things into the low to mid 80s. So again, super warm, relatively speaking, running about 5-ish degrees above where we should be for this time of the year, completely breaking out from our early December chill. Melissa says we wait until after Thanksgiving to put Christmas decorations up. I am with you. I like when Thanksgiving's a little earlier, though. I will say I don't like when we're up against December, just a couple days to go. I like having that extra week in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It just keeps the festiveness rolling a little bit longer. But nonetheless, to each their own, I guess. A lot of people do decorate right after Halloween. I think that's a little long, but it's whatever you want to do, of course. High pressure is in control here. That is what is keeping us very dry. And that's the one thing that we're going to have to watch going forward. Rain chances are going to be super limited until we get that front to come through, likely post Thanksgiving again. And even then, I'm not sold on how much rain we're going to get from that. And that is going to help to really increase the drought situation. Not too much in the short term. Certainly, we could use some rain in the short term. But it's really after going days and days and weeks without that measurable rainfall. That's what's going to get us into trouble as we get deeper into the dry season and into wildfire season, which we get into February, March, April. In those months, that's going to be the concerning thing if we don't get into any big time warmth or big time rainfall. As we move into Thanksgiving, it's looking great. if you like it on the warmer side, especially 80s by the afternoon, we could be pushing the middle 80s at that. The morning, we're talking air temperatures into the low to mid 60s. It is very nice outside. It is going to stay nice outside again, at least in through Thanksgiving. I think probably to Black Friday too, if you are one of those people that go out and like to shop, like to fight the crowds on the deals on Black Friday, all that stuff. I still think it's going to be relatively warm getting into Black Friday as well. It's going to be shortly after that. That's when I think we get the hammer to come down and maybe a couple of hammers in terms of the cold to slide back down the lower 48. So notice that Thanksgiving, we are still having a lot of warmth throughout a lot of the southeast corner of the U.S. So if you are traveling, it should be quiet along the southeast corner of the U.S., and it should be on the warmer side. Um, where we might start to have some issues are the Great Lakes and to the west, where we have some cold coming in, and there might be a pretty significant storm system as well to help to usher in that cold. So that's going to be something that we're watching for the travel side of things, and we're going to talk about that Thanksgiving travel on Monday's episode. We're going to have a whole thing. So if you're planning on traveling, leaving Central Florida, we're going to highlight that a little bit more. So on Monday. And then look at all the blue and the purple coming through. That is a significant drop in temperatures, and that is a significant departure from where we should be for this time of the year. So this is going to be on Tuesday, December 2nd. And I mean, look at that all the way through New England. It is chilly relative to normal, and we're back again to being 10 to maybe 15 degrees below normal. Again, using the mid to upper 70s as our average high temperature for the first couple days of December, subtracting that off. Again, we're talking about highs potentially falling back into the mid 60s, more indicative of kind of that blast of colder air to start November, sliding back through on the early stages, the first couple of days of December. Alrighty, guys, I have to get my first break in. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section for me. On the other side of this break, we are going to talk about hurricane season. Again, there's really not much to talk about, but the Climate Prediction Center did issue their long-range forecast, which does go into December. So that's beyond the official end of hurricane season. We are going to take a look at what they have to say about the last 12 days and a little bit beyond coming up after this short break. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to New 6 Weather Live at 9:30. We're now pushing 9:45 in the evening. Thank you so much for being here. Hurricane season, it's almost over. I don't need to tell you that. The countdown is on. By the way, we're taking a live look tonight with our network of cameras. Thanks to our friends at WeatherStem in Zellwood tonight above my head, and in Boca Grande, that's in South Florida. Some fall coming in around Zellwood. That's going to be really the only lone weather hiccup across the state of Florida over the next couple of days is that for your morning commute. There could be some fog out there, keeping our skies staying clear and the winds being relatively calm thanks to some high pressure. You see it right there. It's almost over. 12 days to go. It ends on November 30th officially. Again, the countdown is coming on. November 30th, the last day of hurricane season. And I'm happy to report that there is nothing brewing out there. No new development expected over the next 7 days over the entire tropical Atlantic. There's hardly a cloud in the sky. From the Caribbean into the Gulf and into the Southwest Atlantic, everything is in the central and northern Atlantic, and nothing is even remotely close to trying to organize out there in the final days of hurricane season. Now, earlier today, every Tuesday, it's something we made a staple of on the show live, is to show you what the Climate Prediction Center has to say in terms of their long-range outlook. And there we go. This one gets us through the end of hurricane season officially and beyond. Climate Prediction Center also not expecting any tropical development over the next 3 weeks. That takes us well into December there. So we've talked about this, that after Melissa, I thought the season would shut down. Of course, that gets us pretty late into the season, but nonetheless, there was all that stuff out there that kind of suggested that we were going to have a Gulf storm coming in November. We said it wasn't happening. There it goes. No new development expected officially over the next 3 weeks. That gets us well into December again. So we're looking good. The season's over for all intents and purposes. It's not official, of course, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago that the season was likely over. Certainly for Florida, there was only that very small shot in the extreme Western Caribbean, and that chance came and went. Water temperature anomaly, sea surface temperature anomaly, there's starting to be a little bit of blue showing up here, indicating below normal temperatures. And you can thank those big cold fronts. The early start, the early arrival to those cold fronts really helped to get rid of some of the warmth and really helped to squash anything that was going to try to get into the Gulf. Again, those early cold fronts helped Melissa stay away. If those fronts didn't come hot and heavy early, I think we would have been in trouble from Melissa. But it helped to steer everything away, unfortunately, towards our friends in Jamaica. But nonetheless, those fronts were instrumental in keeping us quiet when things try to ramp up late again. The blue on the map indicates where we have below normal water temperatures, and we're starting to have that there, a couple degrees Fahrenheit below normal, about 1.1 degrees Celsius. Again, that comes out to be anywhere from 3 to 4 degrees, give or take, below normal in the Fahrenheit department. Still above normal in the Caribbean. There is nothing, though, forcing up any kind of thunderstorms there, and it's not anticipated to over the next couple of weeks. And again, nothing's going to come up at this point. Looking at the water temperature, where I have right now, it's still very warm. This is the Gulf Stream. If you can look closely, you can see a little bit of a differentiation between the colors here. And what I'm drawing out is the loop current into the Gulf Stream. That is where it's still really, really warm. But if we take a little bit closer look, a little bit of a closer look, you'll notice that the water temperature right off the shelf there, it is significantly cooler. So those fronts have meant business. They have done business to the water temperatures. And if anything, nothing's going to. But what I'm saying is this happened weeks ago with those first couple of big fronts, that it started to shave the temperatures off at a pretty good clip in the sea surface temperature department. The tropical fuel, I wanted to show you this too, because the color table, we are off of that completely. You see right there that we don't have any colors there, meaning that we are below low in terms of the tropical fuel content, that if something were to get going, and again, it's not, there wouldn't be much fuel for these things to really eat off of, to thrive off of. Where we have all that still left is down in the Western Caribbean, northeast of Jamaica, and then in the Western Caribbean, and then through the loop current. But again, there's no signs of anything getting going. I don't anticipate anything getting going. And again, with 12 days officially to go, the hurricane season has been done since Melissa came and went. We are looking good. Florida is going to go through the hurricane season unscathed. We're going to put a bow on hurricane season on December 1st. I think that's a Monday, right? Is December 1st a Monday? Now I'm second guessing that December 1st is a Monday. Hold on, I'm checking the calendar. Okay, yeah, December 1st is a Monday. I've often said that I'm going to go on a pretty big soapbox when it comes to some of the things that I've seen this year on December 1st. So stick around for that. That's going to be the big one. And then we're going to kind of verify the forecast, recap the 2025 hurricane season. We didn't put out numbers here at News 6, of course, but I did put together where I thought that we would have hot spots during the 2025 hurricane season. So we're going to take a look at how well or how not so great that forecast panned out. I always like to verify things and kind of check and grade how a long range forecast went. So we're going to take a look at that when Monday, December 1st rolls around, as we have completely cleared the official hurricane season to that point. Jennifer says, woohoo, I couldn't agree more. It's awesome. I'm so happy. Florida needed a break in the worst way. We all know it. I'm back in 3 minutes, guys, and we're going to wrap this up. If you have any questions, post those in the comment section, and I'll see you in 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We have a couple minutes left for some questions and just to shoot the breeze out there. So Golfing Ferdy is already looking forward, not looking forward to, but has a question about next year's hurricane season, and he asked if I have any ideas about next year's hurricane season. I have a couple. I have not looked long because it's so far away at some of the long range guidance. I've been focused on some of the the blast of cold, if you will, that could come through. A couple of things off the bat, though. It looks like we're going to be in an El Nino year. Typically, we are less active in an El Nino year, although a couple years ago it was a very strong El Nino and it was very active, although not super impactful. We had a lot of storms. Most of them were out at sea. Typically, the La Nina years are active, although we've had two La Nina years that have been not so active. This year included, it's been more of an average season. The other thing that I'm going to be watching closely is the stability. The last 2 years, the Atlantic has been very stable. Therefore, we haven't had a lot of thunderstorms around to really get things going and really go gangbusters. Again, that's a good thing, but the stability of the Atlantic has been something that is going to be studied, and to see if there's any kind of trends to come out with this, that with a warming Earth, that there may actually be less storms, but when those storms get going, there's a lot of energy to eat up, and we saw that again this year with a couple of very, very powerhouse storms. Unfortunately, one of them reaching land, well, a couple of them reaching land, impactful Chantal in the Carolinas, and then devastating, catastrophic Melissa in Jamaica. I do want to show you this, though. I brought this up in the break whenever I saw the question come through. This is a long-range model. This is one of them. This is the Canadian climate model. And this is starting off in June, where you see the green. And again, I've not looked at anything to really see if this is on to anything or whatever, but I just literally pulled this up because I was asked a question. So I was interested to see, okay, are there any early trends? I mean, I would love for this to happen anywhere there's green. I was doing a little doodling earlier. Anywhere there's green is where the rainfall anomalies are going to be higher than normal. Anywhere there's brown, it's below normal. So you see here, okay, right off the bat too, I don't like this. I don't want it to be brown in June. That means that we could have really big issues if the wet season is going to be delayed. But that's a story for another time. I've not looked close to see if this thing's out to lunch or on something or anything like that. But Caribbean kind of lit up, although you wouldn't expect that for an El Nino year. There's more shear in the Caribbean. That's where the shear is. But you see a track kind of like this. Okay, would love that, especially if it stays away from the Caribbean. And then there is July. That was for June, by the way. So there's July. There is that. Okay, we still like that kind of track. There is August. Still like that. And then out here. And then let's go to September. And it's still kind of like this. There's not a lot of action down here. And this is, again, super early. We're just kind of looking at this because I was asked. This means nothing. But would love if that actually came into fruition. And then there is October. It looks like those fronts are already coming down, and it keeps everything squashed. So that would be lovely. Again, I want to stress that I've not crunched numbers. I've not gone hardcore with looking at a long-range hurricane season forecast. I just pulled out one climate model and just looked at that. But if something like that were to happen, I'd love that, pending that they lift north before the Caribbean islands. Alrighty, guys, that about does it for us tonight. Jennifer has a lot of fishes on there. I would absolutely, if we get 2 years in a row where we have those big recurves, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. I'm sure somebody will find a way to hype something, though. I'm always amazed. And that's something that I'm going to get into more on December 1st. Thank you a ton for being here, guys. Really appreciate you taking some time to hang out with me every night, Monday through Friday at 9:30, right here on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube page. If you're interested in more of the Central Florida forecast, we're going to talk about the fog. We're going to break down real-time visibilities and look at that for your morning commute tomorrow. I'm going to have that coming up at 10 on News 6 Plus. So just keep it parked right there in the chair if you're watching us live on News 6 Plus. If you're on YouTube, you can kind of push over and find the different thumbnail that says News 6 at 10. Same channel, different thumbnail, and of course, News 6 at 11 if you're in the greater Central Florida area. We will be over the airwaves on the cable side of things, on the traditional side of TV. Thanks again for being here. I'll see you tomorrow night, or better yet, a couple of minutes, News 6 at 10. Have a great night, guys.